All right, everybody, welcome back to the running back breakdown. We are pushing through the final candidates of the group, and we're going to kick things off in this video with a couple of Georgia guys, a couple of Bulldogs who have been part of a pretty special run of football for the last few years in Georgia, starting with Daijun Edwards. Daijun Edwards could not find his age, 5'10", 207 pounds, average size roughly, 29 and 3/4 arms, 9.5 hands. Only combine event was the 9-foot 6-inch broad, which is obviously not that good. And most of the big boards I saw him on had him going undrafted. Walter Football has a real affinity for him, though. They have him in the 4th. I assume that they're just way off the mark here. The database has him in the 6th round, which I could see that. That seems a little more reasonable to me. 2 years of decent production, not a ton of volume, but he's playing on Georgia, so you know that they're gonna spread the ball around a little bit. Over 5 yards a carry, like 5.4 yards a carry over the last 2 years, 20 touchdowns, about 34 catches, 300 receiving yards. So pretty decent production for Daijun Edwards over his Georgia career. Got a surprising amount of power for somebody who just has average size. Runs with a good amount of power. He's decent in pass protection and as a receiver, so at the minimum, you should be getting a guy who can provide third down back value. So we like that. It's a niche that he can fill. He brings some elusiveness to the table, not a lot, but he does have a little bit of ability to make things happen in the open field. And he's able to work through congestion to find his way through the hole. He kind of just keeps moving, keeps prying, keeps poking until the opportunity presents itself, and then he's able to muddle his way through it and get to the opening. Now, while he is a little elusive, he's not very elusive. He's not going to stack up a lot of missed tackles at the NFL level. He's not a very good athlete just in terms of like agility, speed, acceleration, explosiveness. He doesn't really have those things, so he's not going to be able to be a star in this league because of those things in all likelihood. And he does have a little bit of a habit of trying to do too much with the carries instead of just taking what's there. There's a balance that all running backs have to strike, right? And he's still struggling a little bit with that balance, and that's something that'll catch up to him much more in the NFL, where he doesn't have the athleticism to make up for it. Guys who are really athletic can do stuff like that and get away with it. Not so much a guy like Daijun Edwards. So he's forgettable all around. He's a jack of all trades but a master of none. That's the best way I can put it. So I could see this guy getting a job in the NFL, right? Like, you're looking at him and you're going, okay, he can catch. He can pick up blitzers. He has a little bit of elusiveness. He has a little bit of power, a little bit of vision. It's not bad. But there's nothing here that I'm seeing that he's really good at. And that's kind of what you want to be in the NFL, right? If you're going to be a part-time player, which Edwards is clearly going to have to be, I don't think he's good enough to be a bell cow. You want to be really good at something. So I would say 7th rounder or UDFA. I'm just not so interested in the whole jack of all trades thing. I want to get somebody who's really good in some area, even if it's a niche area, more than somebody who's just kind of okay. So 7th rounder or UDFA, split the difference between the two, whichever. But I don't see a lot to value here personally. All right. I said we were going back-to-back with the Georgia players, and we are. We've got Kendall Milton next. This guy, I think, is a little more interesting. 22 years old when the season starts. 6'1.5", 225, so he's big. He's got some size. He's got size that Edwards does not have. 31 and 3/4 arms, 9 and 5/8 hands. Slow top speed, but real fast acceleration. 1.51 10-yard splits, very impressive. Pretty decent explosiveness, too. His verts and his broads were good. 20-yard shuttle, not so great. Bench press, forgettable. But there's some stuff there that is notable, right? This is a bigger running back who accelerates up to top speed very fast. So that should be a draw. That should be appealing. ESPN has him in the 6th or 7th. CBS has him in the 7th. The database has him going undrafted. So there isn't a lot of interest here yet, but I kind of like what I see here. Again, not massive volume production over the last couple of years, but that's what happens when you're in Georgia's backfield. They split the carries. He's been really efficient, averages over 6.5 yards a carry over the last 2 years, 22 touchdowns. Not a lot going on through the air, not a lot receiving, but he is efficient when he gets the ball on the ground. So the positives about Kendall Milton would start with his power. Powers through contact, picks up a lot of extra yards, fighting his way through tacklers. He's going to be, I think, a very good power back at the NFL level. He's got a remarkable ability to stay upright through contact, remarkable ability to survive hits and just keep going. And I feel like that is something that should translate fairly well to the NFL because he's got legitimate NFL size and also acceleration, which is going to help with the pop that you hit with when you're running for power. And he's got really good instincts following his blockers. He understands how to follow blocks and wait for the blocks to develop before he goes. He's got limited wear and tear in college because he was never a full-time use back, kind of like Edwards, actually. So he's never had a season where he's been overworked or even close to overworked, really. He's got nice burst. He's very explosive. So there are some qualities with Kendall Milton that I think are appealing in this draft process. Now, he's not going to make a lot of people miss in the open field. You take a look at him and you're like, okay, that makes sense, right? He shouldn't be great in the open field. He's too big. He doesn't have the speed to take it to the house. It's a Chris Carson type thing where he's going to get 15-yard carries, but he's not going to be able to turn those 15-yard carries into 40-yard carries with his speed. So you're going to have a lot of decent runs, but you're not going to have the big chunk runs, the monster runs. He's not going to be useful on third downs overall. He's not a good blocker, and he's not a very good receiver. So he's definitely an early down back, and there's nothing wrong with that, but just understand what you're getting here. He's not a guy you want to put out there on third down, not a guy you want to put out there on obvious passing downs. He doesn't add value. So I like him as a prospect. I like his burst and his power. I think that he'll find his way in this league. I think that he'll be able to find his way, and I like him more than the average. I'd be happy to spend a 5th-round pick on him personally. I like him more than most people. I think there's a little bit of undervaluing going on with Kendall Milton. And if the Seahawks have a chance to get him in the 6th round, where some of these projections have him, I think that would be a great pickup. Power back to spell Charbonnet in that role, who, by the way, I don't even really consider to be a pure power back because he's such a good third down back. Yeah, sign me up for that. I'm intrigued by Kendall Milton in that role. All right, one more guy for this video, and this one's really interesting. It's Isaac Guerendo of the Louisville Cardinal. This is a guy who kind of set the combine on fire, and that combine performance has gotten him a lot of positive attention here. So 24 years old when the season starts, 6 feet flat, 221, so he's got good size, 30 3/4 arms, 9 1/4 hands. Look at these testing scores given his size. This guy is a phenomenal athlete. 4.33 40. Guys his size have no business running a 4.33. 1.55 10-yard split, which is above average, not great, granted. 41.5-inch vertical, 10-foot 9-inch broad. Look at this guy. He's jumping out of the building. Explosiveness, the likes of which you don't see that often. And this guy's not even undersized. Look at him go. Good 3-cone, 6.94. Good 10-yard shuttle, 4.15. So he gives you a little bit of everything you could want. And there are some big boards that have caught on here. He's gotten a lot of positive boosting since the combine. PFF has him up in the late 4th, ESPN in the 5th. CBS has him in the 7th. They're lagging a little behind here. The database has him in the 5th. And I think that's a reasonable expectation at this point. He only has 1 year of real production. He had a little over 1,000 yards from scrimmage in 2023, 6.1 yards a carry, 11 touchdowns, 22 catches. So the production never really matched the player, but I do think that I do think that there's very clearly something special going on here with Guerendo. Very rare mix of size, speed, explosiveness, and agility. Hard to imagine a guy who's this good of an athlete not finding success in the NFL. He's got a good catch radius as well. You can throw him an off-target pass and he'll go get it. He'll go dig it out. He'll do what needs to be done to go get the errant pass. So he's a good receiver. He's a good pass protector as well. He can pick up blitzes. He can push through tacklers with some power. He's got the ability to use his weight and his speed to convert to power. He's got good decision making. He showed in 2023 that he's somebody who does read the defense, read the blocking scheme, and utilize it. Limited wear and tear on his body because he never took on a full workload in college. Now, his acceleration is not everything that we want it to be. He doesn't cut with the decisiveness that you desire. His ability to just plant and go, it seems like he's holding himself back a little bit. Hopefully that's something that can get better with time. Sometimes he tries to do too much. Sometimes he tries to make things happen where things aren't going to happen. Now, he's such a good athlete, sometimes he gets away with it, and he may continue to get away with that in the NFL, but he is a little bit of a dancer, and he's got the limited proof of actually being able to play the position because he barely produced in college. So, this is a wild card. He's got the incredible testing scores, but he doesn't have big production, but I like him a lot. It's hard for me to imagine him not finding success in the NFL. He's fast, explosive, change of direction. He's got so many things working in his favor. How does he not find a way to be a good NFL player? So, yeah, I put a 4th-round grade on him, and I would not mind if the Seahawks came away with him as early as the 4th round as well. He's good. He's clearly going to be beyond what he was in college once he gets to the NFL. All right. So that's it for this group. Let me know what you think of these 3 guys. Interesting group. I will see you guys later. Go Hawks. More running backs coming soon as we move towards the wrap-up of this grouping.